Alright, let's head out. Also, maybe let's decide on a formation. Box formation. Not great. Let's see. We're all attackers, if I'm not mistaken. Custom formation. Let's see, is there like this? Barik, go up front, Barik. Come on. Why do I gotta be on the front? Can I? Okay, I can. There we go. Barik is a main
I'll do
tank.
it for the north.
Yes, well.
Let's have it then.
And we will back him up, I suppose. Oh, someone has new dialogue. Guess what we'll be doing for the servo minutes to come. How did you do that? Looks at you with a quizzical expression. What? Do what? Alkin's water, and you cast an edict as casually as reading a supply shipment. How did you do that? Well, I've done it before. You cast an edict of fire on a Vellum citadel. I heard about it. How Kairos anger, huh? That was me, alright. Call me impressed, consider that you've read the words of Kairos more than once. I'm surprised that you're even alive to tell of it. Your vocal cords should have turned to ash by now. Is that how that works? I'm trying to make you feel uncomfortable. It's just worth recognizing that you've done what you've done. Not only are you Tunon's Fatebinder, you're the mouthpiece of the Overlord. Gives me plenty of reason to stick around. You're going places, and I want to see where they lead. Alright, you say so.
Need?
Oh, that was about troubles.
What did you have in mind?
Yes, what do you think about our present circumstance? There's an edict hanging over our heads, and as far as I'm concerned, the incompetence of this favored got us into this mess, and it will take the fury of the Scarlet Chorus to get us out. In other words, nothing ever changes. Travel companions? What do you think of Barik? Give him some due credit, he's more complicated than he looks. I mean, his armor looks complicated enough. He's still an intolerant and unapologetic bastard, but that's more his business than mine, alright.
Go ahead, Fatebinder.
Alright, looks like now we talk to Barik. Wait, what's this? 8 days to Kairos' days of sword. Alright, good to know. No, nice to know that our death has a countdown.
Fatebinder, you look like you need to talk.
Yes, we do.
What can I do for you?
Like to know more about ya. I'm the line your enemies cannot cross. All the other details are meaningless, but I suspect you have some thirst for the details, so ask anyway. Seek the trade of war, or did it find you? Both, I suppose. I knew fighting was in my blood, and a disfavored offered me a chance to use my skill to bring peace. Otherwise, I've wound up in some brigand or an enforcer to a crooked merchant. Barik taps his scabbard, looking away in thought. You think Ash and his legion bring peace? That's cute. But it doesn't hold water from where I'm standing, big guy. I've seen them spill as much blood as any chorus gang. You've clearly been too busy sacking villages and stealing crops to notice how a proper army conducts a war. We sow order, not discord. I'm gonna say nothing. Enough of this. You're making us look foolish before the Fatebinder. May I continue my story, or do you plan on interrupting again? Barik waits until first makes a rude, dismissive wave before continuing. The disfavored needed recruits in anticipation of the march south. They offered to care for my mother and brother as long as I stayed with the Legion, which is a better guarantee than you'll find anywhere else. I was an elite fighter as far as most were concerned, though still green by disfavored standard. Luckily for everyone, my skill improved under the Iron Marshal's rigorous training. Right? About your name. Barik is shortening of my northern surname, which has been passed down through the generations since Graven Ash assembled his army. I go by it because I wear it with pride. The proper form is Barikonen. That's a pretty fancy name. I like it. Beyond its age and association with the General's Legion, the name Barikonen has no great titles or associations. I hold no claim to a great house or legacy, save for the disfavored. They are all the kin I need. What's the story of that armor?
It is a symbol of Kairos' will, one that I am not likely to forget. I found this armor. Perhaps it would be better to say that it found me during the Edict of Storms.
Okay. You sound like you enjoy having it. How do you poop? Do you poop? You smell like shit. When we heard Kairos would proclaim the edict, we rushed into the field to battle the forces of Stalwart. I was shoulder to shoulder with some of Legion's most decorated veterans, and my pride blinded me to the danger. Our march was a hasty one. A cohort of disfavored soldier vanished in the second year of the war. Amongst them, the daughter of Graven Arsh. After a long silence, we learned that she was held in the fortress of Sentinel Stand. Go on. As we surrounded the citadel, I heard the opening peals of thunder, as did the scout I was busy trying to kill. Then the winds hit like an avalanche. Many of us begged Kairos for deliverance. What else were we to do? The winds knocked the legs out of our offensive out from under us. All the decorated soldiers I brought to battle were swept up and dashed to pieces, their armor and bodies mixing with the dirt of a tornado that spun in the maddening revolutions. A piece of the citadel wall broke off and nearly crushed my skull. I only remembered a few scattered moments from the storm, like the flying bits of bronze and iron cutting my flesh, the severed limbs of fallen soldiers tumbling through the air. Eventually I woke up, thinking myself trapped under rubble. When I rose and felt like I was buckling under my own weight, that's when I realized I was stuck. Right and truly stuck inside this heap of scrap. What happened to Ash's daughter? She was trapped behind the wall of Sentinel Stand, imprisoned by Kairos' storm as well as the fortress itself. 1,000 soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder could not have endured those winds to rescue her. How did you survive when everyone fell? This is mystery to me as well. Did Kairos hear my plea for mercy? Did this heap of scrap metal protect me, imprison me, punish me? He rubs the back of his helmet with his gauntleted hand, a pantomime of a gesture his armor prohibits. I don't have enough fingers or toes to count the possible reasons, so I try not to dwell on them. You're genuinely stuck in there. Haven't tried taking it off? I made the attempts in the past, even had one of the beast haulers pull on a helmet, while another pulled on my boot. The man in the flanks have taken great pleasure in trying to find ways to liberate me. In time I grew wary of the struggle, sometimes feared that removing the armor would be to question Kairos' judgment and risk a more odious curse. I'm still wondering if he's pooping in his pants right now. Right? Okay. Looks like pretty solid protection. Yeah, that would be an understatement. If only it protected me from foolish questions, Barik got you. Alright, fine. I'll leave you to it then. Do you handle your own repairs? I try to keep the surface oil to slow the spreading rust, and bend the plates from time to time, but repairs, maintenance, no. If you have any ideas how to better maintain this situation, I'm open to discuss them. Alright, back to my questions about you. As you're all this way, I assume you grew up in the Northern Empire. That's right, I grew up in Battle's Rest, and trained at Fort Resolution before they marched me out to support the second cohort. I hope to spend my rusting years in threatened sores, unless, of course, I die in glorious battle, which would be preferable. Oh man. Rusting years. He's like a robot. Is he a robot? Has he become a robot golem man? Oh well. Would you like to discuss removing your armor? He looks at you for a very long time, his expression as unreadable as ever.
Though we are encouraged to couple and mate within the Legion, I don't consider you one of my cohorts. I think I'll decline.
I wasn't talking about sex, Barik.
You weren't? Forgive me, it's been some time since anyone made an advance. I'm long out of practice, as you can see.
I'm sure. Wait, so is there a caught piece he can remove? Is that how it goes?
Suffice it to say, my armor and I will not be separated for the time being. When the war is over, perhaps Tunon will lend me one of his forge bound. Until then,
What?
Here I remain.
Forge bound. Can't remember that.
My armor saved me from the destruction of Stalwart. where thousands of others lost their lives. So you can see why I continue to wear it. For the time being, we will not be separated.
Yes, I mean, I suppose. It does. I suppose it's useful in a way. Are you comfortable in there? What development of calluses that I can sleep at night, but I wouldn't call that comfort, would you? And that's not nice. This is my armor. It has everything it needs and more. Purpose, meaning, strength. If it were comfortable, that would only take away from its other qualities, alright? You want it removed? I would not speak of this now, Fatebinder. Please consider the topic closed. Oh, well, Oh, okay. Damn it, you're right to be concerned. My apologies that you need to pull rank. It was wrong of me to withhold information. I don't need to tell you that this suit of junk is a literal pain in my ass, half broken, smelling of midden, and perpetually jabbing my sides with some Kairos be damned caltropes. These dusty plates may not be up to standards, but they serve the disfavor well enough on the battlefield. If only to intimidate the enemy. Better for me to endure this condition than to shirk an advantage. Consider that I wore this as I march across the bones of stalwart that was. My burden grows heavier with each step. I have no desire to leave it behind. It is a lesson, a reminder, and yes, a prison. For all those things make it something more. But all of those things make it something more. These plates have something of me in them. They are as wicked as bramble patch, as stubborn as a fortress, and hopelessly flawed. At present, removing my armor is not an option. If that ever changed, I suspect that the tears will tremble with the impact of my collapsing fortification. What a day there will be. What does Graven Ash think? It's the fact that he doesn't, not to besmirk the great general, he has larger matters to consider than any one soldier's woe. Alright. How long do you think it can last? The armor hasn't shown any sign of weakening, and my maintenance regiment is all that keeps it from rusting solid. Were I to stop applying oil and give in to entropy, this shell would harden to a degree that no forge master has ever seen. I think it could very well stand for as long as the old walls, with my skeleton peeking out from the depths, and someday, not even that. Alright. Tell me what you can and can't do. I can strike fear into the hearts of our enemies and protect a shield wall with my very body. What more do I need? Ah yes, that's a question everyone's asking. Let's say I manage poorly. The parts of this misbegotten thing I can reach are in better repair than Yes, I kind of regret standing behind you now, but that's the formation we're going with. Are we actually talking about this, Fatebinder? Do you have nothing better to do than wonder how I access my nether regions to a frenzy bout of self-interest? Yes, I don't want to hear this. How do I even run far enough to avoid this? Well, I can't, and not from lack of trying. My works are inaccessible from the outside, and as much as I tried to warn my arms out of this sleeve of iron, I would only succeed in dislocating my shoulder. If you ever think me frustrated or disagreeable, just imagine that I've dealt with this since the third year of the Conquest, or more accurately, what I haven't dealt with. How do you fare in water? Better to ask how do I sink. The answer is quickly. Water passes my lips easily enough, though I take great care to keep it from anywhere else. Okay. Tell me about the disfavored, yes? Iron Legion, Warrior Elite. Yes, I heard all that before. Battles, Stalwart. The battle pass per year, face the enemy everywhere from Coral Run to Sentinel Stand. Lost count to a battle. Seems like we fought every other day. Some of our best victories took place there, fighting an enemy worthy of our iron. But we were not successful enough to please the Overlord, and the final intervention was harsh on us all. Barik takes in a deep breath, his armor folding as his posture stiffens. I had an unusual view of the Edict of Storm. Karis's judgment left its mark on me. Yet, considering how we fought at Sword with the skill and honor of legend, only the Edict is remembered. A shame. Graven Ash. General of the disfavored, veteran of centuries of battle. Centuries? Wow, he's old. And an Archon without peer. I would follow him to avoid and back without question. How did he come to serve Kairos before uniting a Northern Empire? Graven Ash served as a warlord in the service of one of the local king that defied Kairos' rule. Incredible as it may seem, Ash stood against Kairos' rule. Though his army was dismantled by Kairos' overwhelming number, Ash's force performed admirably. It was said that he and his troops claimed 70 and 7 lives for each of their own. Kairos took an interest in a military genius that blooded his army. Graven Ash was summoned to a conclave of the Archons, and though he was sent in chains, he left as an Archon, having been granted a position of power in Kairos' great host of war. Thus the disfavored were born. All of us today trace our line back to those warriors that impressed Kairos with their will and tenacity. The only difference is now we fight on the winning side. Though General seldom speaks of it, I know that Ash humbled himself in order to spare his troops from the brunt of Kairos' punishment. His loyalty to the old blood of the North is beyond question. Well, he saved his troops. That's cool, I guess. He wouldn't have won anyway. And he would make it again to save any of us. There has never been a more devoted and attentive leader. Barik makes a proud fist and steps to a salute with the forced clatter of pots and pans. What do you know of his past? Following battle, I'm not his personal scribe, and if I did know more of him, it would not be my place to say. I see. As an Archon, what magic does he wield? Ash works magic through us, his soldier. When we do battle, Ash seems to know the events even before our runners have given the word. More importantly, though, he protects us. It's a bit tricky to explain unless you've experienced it. I can think of countless times I've been struck by a spear or hit with an axe, and even run through with an arrow. And in each of those moments, the pain and injury just cease to be. None of us know how he does it, or how he can sense that we're in danger and intervene from afar, but I suppose that's why he's an Archon. What he does probably wouldn't make sense to someone like me. How do you feel? How do I feel about him? Archon Ash is the bravest, warmest, most compassionate general who ever lived. He's a living icon of leadership and courage. Barik tilted his head slightly to the side, so I suit the limited range of motion permits. Ash is a soldier, but he doesn't kill for sport. A leader, but he doesn't issue commands to hear himself talk. He demands discipline and sober conduct of his troops, and I applaud such standards. Okay, let me see if there's anything I missed. No? Okay. Tell me of your time in the Legion. I joined the Legion 3 years before the Conquest of Tears began. Though handy with a few weapons, my size made me the perfect addition to a phalanx. I've served with the Stone Shields ever since. Proud to say I've stood front row, right corner in over a dozen battles. That has been my place ever since the Iron Marshal gave me the assignment. The Bastard City, the Gates of Judgment, Vengeance Pass, Ocon's Ring, a quick tour in Barris in Chains. What the hell is Barris in Chains? And then, Barris in Chains, what the hell? And then Starwood. I spent a long time in Starwood. Lost a lot of friends there. What of the other disfavored lieutenant? They are Graven Ash's most trusted officers and warriors from the Iron Guard. Between Ash's arcane power of command and his cadre of gifted leaders, there's little confusion or chaos in the ranks. Tell me, the one they call Iron Marshal, she takes it upon herself to train and harden our greener recruits. Not only that, she has a keen eye for talent and how to foster it for leadership. She's the youngest member of the Iron Guard. Her family line served the disfavored back before Ash bowed to Kairos. Say what you will of how many seasons she's weathered, her lineage is impressive beyond measure. What of Karen's disciple, Radix, an Earthshaker who swore service to Karen a few years before the conquest? Since Karen is gone, the cult now follow Radix. Unlike his Archon, at least he knows how to follow orders. To his credit, Radix seems to appreciate the honor of fighting alongside the disfavored. Karen was always peeved to be invited into glory. Mages seem a necessary complication. They are insubordinate and can't lug their own supplies, but I would not want to go to war without their spells of tremor and leaping stones. What of the Scoutmaster? Barik is a devoted leader, and Ash seemed to hold his counsel in high regard. Both set their troops ahead of himself, which I'm sure is why they work so well together. He's no magician, but he does share a special connection to his war band, and they are entrusted with the most important scouting assignment. They say that he can see what his scouts see, hear what they hear. What of the veteran warrior, Varimas? He's the finest of us, second only to Ash. Varimas is an evocatus, a soldier who lived to see the end of his term of service. It is rare for anyone to survive that long, much less willingly return. These days he lends his tactical expertise to Graven Ash, though by all rights he should be enjoying his twilight years in the seat of honor and dignity. Alright, what else we got? Why didn't the Legion prevent the uprising on Vendrian's Well? I think that's a question you ought to ask the Scarlet Chorus. They too were charged with ensuring the locals remained vanquished and unarmed. Barik Law lurched forward as he speak, iron plates grinding under his motion. Ah, shit. As disfavored are Kairos' elite, the duty was theirs to fail. I see. I see, Rosebud. So the incompetence of the course shield them from blame? That sounds like the sort of law Tunon would teach. Ah, his fate binders. Well, eh, 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 what's this? Okay. From where I'm standing, Meadowman, you're the only one still defending the disfavored. If you took a moment to own up to the Legion's shortcomings, that would go a long way towards making them stronger. What more can I tell me about the Legion disfavored except only the finest soldier? We are all volunteers and soldiers by trade, not farmers and fishmongers pressed into service. There is a century of tradition, honor, and tactical mastery in our ranks. We don't let just anyone into the Legion. Only Northmen of character and prowess are welcome. Okay? What if the capable Tearsmen wish to join? We will not recruit even a champion of the Tearsmen. Each soldier in a legion is tied by blood and fealty to those that stood with Graven Ash during the coming of Kairos. That is part of who we are, and that will never change. Okay, hold on. What about me? A charming sentiment, good Fatebinder, but no, you are sworn to another Archon. Your loyalty would be suspected. Yeah, well, that's a good way to avoid the question. Alright. His name born in shame, now worn in honor. After Graven Ash stood against Kairos, he was forced to give up much. His allegiance, his pride, and the name of his vaunted army. What was the legion originally called? Name has been forgotten by all save Ash and Kairos, and it is considered bad form to bring up the topic. Since you didn't know any better, I'll say this much. Disfavored is the only name by which one needs to know us. Alright, let's talk about something else. Previous question. Scarlet Chorus, our allies do not share the disfavored sense of honor and discipline. The Chorus will trust any criminal, rapist, or half-wit with a truncheon or blade. What would you like to know about the Scarlet Chorus? Voice of Narat? You know, a rumor, hearsay, speculation, but there's as much as anyone knows of the voices. Some account tells that he's actually dead, and the Overlord has trapped the minds of his foes in the same body to torture them all. As likely an explanation as any I've heard. In truth, I know little of the voices, and have reason to suspect almost anything about him could be true. You could tell me his tears turned cheese back into milk, and it would seem more sensible to believe it than not. Yet, do you know anything of his powers? I am no scholar of sorcery, but as I understand it, the voices of Narat is a thief of minds. They say he can swipe your thoughts and make them his own. I don't know how it works, but when I recruited into the disfavor, the Iron Marshal told me to never take audience with the voices if I didn't have a witness on hand. Do you think him disloyal? I really shouldn't comment on such matters. Barik looked ahead blankly and then clears his throat. I hear his tears can turn cheese into milk. That's very amusing, Fatebinder. What do you know of his associate, the Archon Sirin? Sirin is the Archon of Song and one of the youngest of her rank. She can influence human emotion with her voice alone. The voices may be the controller of the chorus, but I'd argue Sirin is their best weapon. The voices put her talents to good use. He had her sing a song up and down the coast, and the Tearsmen defected to the chorus in droves. Alright. Okay, what can you tell me about their troops and tactics? Tactics, these are the first I've heard of them. The chorus is more of an irregular mob than a proper army. Still, it's a well-armed mob, and they even have a few proper warriors and magicians in their pitiful excuse for ranks. Do you know of their warriors? Most chorus rats are untrained peasants handling a knife or a pitchfork. Doesn't take much to qualify you for the front lines. One only needs a beating heart, and even then the chorus could make do. Of course, not everyone in the chorus is an infirm child or sickly old crone. Some ex-soldier and madman join, and the fighting elite of the chorus forms a clique known as the Scarlet Furies. Barik is too dismissive by far, but he's right that most recruits are novices pressed into service. Most will not survive the first few battles. Those who live will have experience to lead, and those who fall can easily be replaced. What sort of magic does chorus use? The blood chanters are mages who follow the voices of the rot. Like the chorus itself, their order is not steep in a tradition and antiquity, rather built on knowledge stolen from other guilds. Their fire magic earns them a place on the battlefield, but they also have chants that stir their minds and heart. The motherless swords have spells that can bolster a man's courage or tap into his fears. The chorus of mob, how is it led in surprise? The voice of Narat gives order to his elite commanders, who in turn sends instructor out to the gang captains. But beneath that hierarchy, it's chaos. Whole gangs will break from the larger force and disperse back into their homelands. The chorus is ineffective beyond words, and yet more bodies keep coming in to replace those lost in the mess. Inefficient, every weakling lost in a scuffle is one less burden to those in the choir. Still dancing to the song of battle. Our way must be harsh, otherwise the stupid and the soft will inherit the chant. The chorus has a lot of mouths to feed, so the conscript that can't or won't fight are made to gather food and water. Else, I'm told, they are fed to the pigs, becoming food and water, in a sense. A fine contrast to honor, efficiency, and decency of the disfavored. The Legion demands courage and tenacity, but provides us with good iron and does not leave its soldier to forage like vultures. Scarlet Chorus convinced so many Tyranny to join. It began with Sirin. She had a song that got whole villages marching to her will, and once these peasants killed their neighbors or cousins in service of the voices, it either hardened them into warriors or broke their minds for servitude. Lots of criminal and drifters joined the chorus too. It seemed like the scum of the tears just need the promise of glory and sanctioned debauchery to turn on their neighbors. It's not pretty, and it shouldn't be. The chorus is a forge. All the dirt of tears goes in, and the finest bits are refined into weapons. There are many that join the Scarlet Chorus because they wish to join the winning side. It's a shame such patriots were not born to proper northern stock, too weak or too slight to be disfavored. The Scarlet Chorus is as best freedom from the fealty to the younger realms. Not everyone has the fortune of gaining Tunon's favor. Better Tearsmen serve Kairos in some capacity than them rot in mass grave the desire turn all the... Okay, Better Tearsmen serve Kairos, right? Yeah. They'd be best served logging grain for the disfavored, but you're certainly correct. Even the lowliest Tearsmen deserve the chance to serve, even as fodder for the front line. Look at that. Some, they agree on something. Alright, enough about the Scarlet Chorus.
Good. Let's move on to another matter.
Right, tell me about the tiers. Uphill both ways and full of dumb swords. I learned some history in training, and I've been here for a few years, but I'm not expert. What's your assessment of the local forces? There was a time early in the war when I would have feared the younger realms working together. Imagine that. Once I saw the modest scope of their defense, I knew they would be easily outclassed. They couldn't even rally their best to make a competent stand. Tell me about the Vendrian Guard. Used to be the Queen's Royal Army of Vendrian. I guess defeat inclined them to a shorter name. We crushed them back in 429. I'm proud to say I took part in that decisive battle. You know the rest. A year after we taught them conquered, thousands of Vendrian oathbreakers murdered the garrison and declared themselves the overlords, free of the overlord's rule. What the hell is unbroken? proud and accomplished army of the realm of Star Wars, citing their victories as evidence of skill. They pride themselves on never facing defeat while fighting on home soil. After the Edict of Storms tore apart the stalwart and twisted it into a blade grave, barely a 20th of the Unbroken's former strength survived to continue the war against Kairos' force. I guess they broke finally. The unbroken union of stalwart may they rot in the decrepitude of their fallen realm. Barik squeezes his gauntlet into a hard fist. Much as it pains me to admit it, in all the realms of the Tears, the Unbroken have been the only foe worthy to meet the disfavored in battle. The Unbroken value tradition just as we do. Stalwart has never lost a war on their own soil, a reputation they take quite seriously. It's fortunate that Stalwart has poor relations with all its neighbors. The rest of the Tears will not come to their aid, so as bravely as they fought, their end was inevitable. What can you tell me about Bronze Brotherhood? Mercenaries of free cities. The chorus needed extra muscle and you can always mint new rings. Hard to believe the Tearsmen turn on each other for mere loops of metal. Wait, let me check. Bronze Brotherhood, mercenary company from free cities dotting the Tears' southern coast. Many of these mercenary companies were employed by Kairos' agent and slaughtered. Employed by Kairos' agent and slaughtered during the war. What do you mean? So we employed them and slaughtered them? What? Bronze Brotherhood survived thanks to their relative safe posting at Lethian's Crossing, where the Voices of Narat hired a company to help protect the town's forging operation. Amongst the most trained and dedicated warrior of the Tears, the Bronze Brotherhood have a reputation for ruthlessness and tenacity. Aggression and decisive thinking are so highly prized by the Brotherhood that the violent, enigmatic Scourge is the group's mascot. A creature most decent folk consider the stuff of nightmare. The term brother is used for mercenaries of both gender, as the company's title harkens back to the archaic notion of living as men. In Tears custom, this amounts to releasing all claims to lands, to better assure an employer that the Brotherhood won't covet their realms they are paid to protect. Okay. The Bronze Brotherhood worship the Scourges, yes, those monsters from the old wars. The mercenaries are grown adults that willingly admire a magical abomination. Read into that what you will. That said, it should surprise no one that the Bronze Brotherhood eventually wanted more than just rings and turned on their contract. Kairos now consider them an enemy, which is for the best. The Overlord needs better class of combatants.
Go on, Fatebinder.
What do you know of the younger realms? Before much on the bastard tier, I recall Graven Ash giving us a speech as we stood assembled at Fort Resolution. He told us the younger realms lacked the sense to make a stand against us. What? But they did. I don't think I need to point out that the average Tearsman is just plainly inferior to the sons and daughters of the North. For every one of us they kill, we must drag 1.5 bleeding into the soil with us. It didn't help that they were afraid of magic and relied on their battlefield prowess to stage a defense. Okay. Beastmen. They drilled us on beastmen combat before the invasion, but it did little to prepare us. The local savages are lacking in brains, hygiene, and the ability to arm themselves, yet the prime hunters of their species are formidable. Aside from being rapacious killers, the beastmen make good haulers and laborers. Once you've killed the half that won't follow orders. Enough about the Tears, then. You seem like a more than capable fighter. I trained with the spear and shield in my youth, but gave it up the day I earned this favored iron. I can still throw with some accuracy, but it's a challenge these days. He knocks twice on his helmet. Why? Were you interested in a sparring session? Show me how a northerner would impale a wild boar. It'll be a pleasure. This is traditional hunting technique, but I have used it for a time or two in the arena. Okay, I learned some skills. What do you think of our circumstances? The edict left little room for confusion. A representation of the Overlord must breach. A representative of the Overlord must breach the Ascension Hall before Kairos' Day of Swords and must assume death is the price of failure. We should assist the disfavored in their siege preparation, as only the Legion should take the well-fortified citadel. I wouldn't wager a wooden ring on the Scarlet's Chorus impressing anyone but the vultures. What are your thoughts on me and my deeds? Any reservation I have aside, your military records speak for itself. You are Tunon's Fatebinder, and my opinions that matter don't come into it one way or another. Okay. Traveling companions? I'm more accustomed to traveling in company of soldiers, so I'm out of practice judging the worth of civilians and miscreant. If I had anyone particular in mind, I would give them some thought. What about Verse? I try not to. She's a force of chaos, an agent of the voices of Narat. Taking her into our confidence can only lead to ruin. And yet she is a capable fighter. For the time being, I'm confident that you can trust her to serve your interests and rely on skill on her battlefield. She may even offer some useful perspective on the war. Alright. That's all the dialogues, I think, unless I'm wrong.
You look as if you have something on your mind. What can I do for you?
Hold on, let me...
You look as if you have something on... What can I do for you?
Alright. Barik. Almost 2. Okay. Not quite there yet, but I'm sure we have more opportunities to come. Yes. Anyways, let's get a move on.
No reason to tarry.
And what's this? What's this 2 mean? Oh well. Let's go.